Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Live Free Now show. I'm your host, John Bush. As always, Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central, I'm bringing you the news, views, tips, and tools you can use to live a free, prosperous, and healthy life. Today, we have a wonderful show lined up for you. We're going to be joined by the one and only Curtis Stone in studio. Oh, wait a second. Curtis, where are you? Tell you the truth, I recorded a interview with Curtis about a week ago when he was in town. He came into town to do an interview with Luke Story and a couple others. He stayed at the house at Radical Roots Ranch. We hung out, had a lot of good bro time, and we made our way by the office, and he sat down, and we did an interview. It's about 45 minutes. We're going to be dropping that interview for the first time here for those of you on the stream and those of you watching the replay. We went in depth on this concept of a pendulum. It's like a pendulum is swinging, and it's a political pendulum. And for some strange reason, the public and even freedom fighters and conspiracy people that really see that there's an agenda and some ugly stuff going on in the world, they just choose over and over and over to get on the pendulum. Hey, look at that pendulum of destruction, lies, deceit, manipulation, corruption. We should get on that pendulum. And they're like, let's get on because we're so fed up with the way things are going and we've been sold a bill of lies. And you know, the truth of the matter, more and more I'm coming to recognize, and Alex Zek, big fan of Alex Zek and the way forward. He really communicates this in a very, very good way. A lot of people that are so drawn to politics and put their faith in politicians and the government to solve their problems and our common problems, it's coming from a place of disempowerment. And I don't say that as like some holier than thou or putting people down in the least bit, but I do say that in order to push folks that are maybe listening right now that are still expecting politicians to do the right thing and to save the day, just to push and encourage folks to remember the power that lies within each and every one of us. The creative capacity to build something beautiful. It's inside all of us, that spark of divine creative energy. But unfortunately, for many people, it's like a little glimmer. It's like a little fading candle that's just like flickering. And how do you make that flame grow and get brighter and brighter? By taking responsibility for everything in your life. Everything, radical responsibility. The economy's all jacked up. Get your ass out and learn some sales and marketing skills, or figure out a way to better manage your money, or move to a place, or quit the spending on nonsense, or what the hell ever. Because you don't have control over the major economy, the meta economy, but you do have control over your personal economy. The government's cracking down, doing A, B, and C. Well, you know what? Then lean into building parallel systems, right? There's trouble within my relationship with the significant other. My kids don't respect me at work. The boss is giving me a hard time. Then self-reflect on how you may be contributing to that relationship, and also take a good hard look in the mirror, or let the other person be your mirror to say, what is it that triggers me? Why do I feel weak, disempowered? Why do I feel controlling, or whatever it may be? What are they trying to teach me? What is it in this adversity, in this difficult relationship that I can learn from so I can be a better person? Not only in this relationship, but in all relationships. Radical responsibility is the name of the game. And the more you take responsibility, the more empowered you will be. Stepping away from the victimhood, expecting other people to solve your problems. Just woe is me, wallowing. Wallowing and woe is me is just so many people's day-to-day life. You start taking responsibility, having little victories, strengthening your discipline, recognizing that you have the power within you. And now you start feeling a little bit more empowered. And before you know it, you have so much self-respect that you don't even entertain the pendulum. Well, maybe you watch the pendulum because it's entertaining at times. I tell you, that Donald Trump sure is so entertaining. I got a kick out of that guy. I can see how people that are in opposition. I'm in opposition to his policies, but I can see how like political fools that are in opposition would be so damn triggered by this Donald Trump character. He's such a trip, man. But nonetheless, people in our community just get on the pendulum. They get caught up in a reactionary paradigm. They define their value and their identity by that which they oppose. Who am I? I am not this. I am not a lefty liberal. I'm not some weird gender thing. That's what I'm against. And they define themselves by what they're against. And the more you focus on what you're against, the more you attract it into your life. The more miserable you're going to be if there's this stuff that's just so appalling and upsetting to you but you can't take your energy off of it. And then that's what your life becomes, just some obsession in this political rat race. And before you know it, you find yourself being polarized, more extreme. And then on the other opposite end, they become more extreme. And the pendulum all the while is getting more extreme, pushing further and further out to more radical beliefs. And don't you think for a second that the predator class is not leveraging and manipulating this phenomenon of the pendulum and extremism becoming more, because all the while, no matter who's in power, Bush, that's when I started paying attention, George Bush Jr., W, it'd be a lot easier if it was a dictatorship, just as long as I'm a dictator. I know there's an expression you guys haven't, we got it in Texas, maybe you got it in Tennessee, if you fool me once, fool me once, if you fool me, I can't get fooled again. Remember Bushisms? It was like Bush got extreme because of all the terrorism, and then I define myself by not being a Muslim extremist terrorist, and then it's like, well, let's expand the Patriot Act, John Morton, the Defense Authorization Act, surveillance. The Patriot Act sowed so many seeds for all this crypto surveillance KYC stuff that a lot of people are facing. Right, and then it was like, oh, Obama. Right. And then it's like, well, we got to defeat extremism and this right wing extremism. And let's do all this economic chicanery. Right. And then, of course, through that transition, we had the housing crisis. And then the whole Obama, the rightist, like this guy's a communist. Let's get the birth certificate, blah, 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 whatever. Even if a lot of those conspiracies were true, who cares? The whole thing was total manipulation. This side got more polarized. And then when Trump came into office, oh, boy, I tell you what, the division within this country, don't you think for a second that it wasn't all part of the program? And now everybody's against one another, the people. Meanwhile, the predator class advances their technocratic control paradigm. And so many people are just like deer in the headlights. Whoa, what's happening? What's going on? Well, a lot of people fail to recognize that they are contributing to the problem through their subservience and through giving away their power to external forces. So, oh boy, that's I don't want to spoil everything that we're going to be talking about, but thank you everybody for tuning in. We got Lily in the house dropping a flower emoji. The one, the only Catherine Martin, super fan of the program. Thank you so much. We got Jay Rang, a human approach. So true. Many people only see one layer of truth and miss the bigger picture of who they are. Ain't that the truth, Mr. J? Catherine Martin says, curious what your thoughts are on Elon as he's distanced himself from the Trump team. Same thoughts. I have learned a lot from Elon Musk in his ability to get big things done. And for a while, I thought that perhaps he was more independent than it appears he truly is. I thought he was more of a maverick. He has his own agenda. He wants to make humans a multiplanetary species, which I still believe to be the case, authentically his agenda. And he's willing to play ball in order to advance that agenda. In other words, the ends justify the means. He is going to get subsidies, although his companies, compared to other auto manufacturers and such, had very few subsidies. And they got loans from the government. They always paid the loans back with interest or whatever. He's not an anarchist, so he's going to leverage the system to his advantage. But at the end of the day, whenever this Gaza genocide started and Elon went on an apology tour to kiss the ring of Netanyahu and Israel, that was a huge eye-opener for me. Because I've been in the conspiracy space since 2002, and always for the longest, here goes the YouTube stream, there's people like, it's the Jews. The Jews are behind it all. The Jews control it all. They're at the top of the conspiracy, this, that, and the other. We actually get into Israel and all that stuff with the Kurdish stream. And I'm not saying that's my belief. It's the Jews behind everything. And it's not even the Jews. It's like a faction of Jewish people. Some of them don't even have the same lineage that goes back to the 12 tribes of Israel and the Israelites in the Old Testament. It's a different group of people that are the ones that are pushing all this crazy nonsense in Israel. And it was the Rothschild family through the Balfour Declaration in the 40s, I believe it was, that actually created the nation state of Israel. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I guess we already did. But what I learned that Elon maybe isn't as independent as I once thought when he kissed the ring, and that perhaps Israel, the nation state, and the Zionist criminal evil regime, perhaps what Jesus referred to as the synagogue of Satan, this false Israelite thing, they have a whole lot more power than I suspected. But we talk about it a bit in this Curtis interview. But to answer your question, Catherine, without going too far down the rabbit hole, my opinion of Elon hasn't shifted. I still respect him as an entrepreneur and somebody that gets stuff done. I do believe, however, more so than before, that he is part of this technocratic agenda. So, yeah. But it's always like, okay, what are we going to do? What can we do? What are we going to do about Elon? What are we going to do about his agenda? What are we going to do about Trump and this political theater? It's entertaining. It's fun to see. My father-in-law was in town. We were talking about Elon and how like Fox News is running game against Trump. And I commented like, yeah, maybe that the media pitting them against each other sowed some seeds that were later watered and then that played a role in tearing them apart. I don't know. It's all theater. They're both evil, like bad people. But at the same time, as an entrepreneur and as somebody that studies success philosophy and wants to do big things in my own life, although I've gotten beat to a pulp recently with ambition, and I've tempered my ambition with some restraint and wanting to live a more peaceful life. But I'm starting to get my mojo back and put pieces into place like a chess game in order to make some more big moves. Anyway, both of them are worthy of study. And I've studied both of them and read The Art of the Deal and watched Trump documentaries and biographies. And same thing with Elon Musk, read both of the biographies that are out, Walter Isaacson, and I forget the other author. But it's like really fascinating what these two men have managed to accomplish. And any hater that's like, they didn't do it on their own. It was Trump's dad that started this and that. Or it was Elon's stepfather that had an emerald mine. That's all like total BS. They did have a leg up in some instances, but like Elon was abused and like beat, emotionally, psychologically abused by his father, almost beat to death and bullied in school. And as someone who has a mind that's always racing with ideas and like, it's really overwhelming. And I can relate to this comment that Elon made where it's like, the ideas never stop. It's very, very overwhelming. I wouldn't want anybody to be me. So I can relate to him. And then Trump, of course, got started with some support from his father. But the way that he took the Trump empire well beyond what his father accomplished is pretty fascinating. The guy ended up becoming president, of course. So, all right, well, we digress on that. But thank you for the question there, Catherine Martin. Guys, before we play this Curtis interview, I want to invite you to take part in the Exit and Build Land Summit 5 Encore, my friends. We went to Swope, Virginia, and had some time with the one, the only Joel Salatin, the master of regenerative agriculture himself, and an all-around swell guy that I have, oh my God, I've learned so much from Joel, and I've become obsessed with his work. I always do these deep dive obsessions with different people, and more recently it was the Joel, but really what the deep dive has been on for the past 6 months or so is Jesus Christ. Talk about a powerful figure that's really had an imprint on the world and on my life. Woo, boy. One of these days I'm going to do a whole show, call it the Jesus Framework, and how Jesus' teachings, whether you want to believe he was resurrected on the third day or buy into the whole spiritual side of, you could take his teachings on surface value without even believing in the resurrection, apply them to your life and have immense benefit. But I digress again. That's what we do here on the show. We go on a lot of rabbit holes and side quests, as I like to call them. Nonetheless, Joel Salatin, a Christian himself, a lunatic Christian environmentalist, whatever he calls it. We got to spend some time with him and have a whole lot of download of wisdom. So it's super affordable. It's $97 to watch live coming up the 12th and the 13th in 8 days. If you're watching on July 2nd, you can register for free. We're going to watch it together on Zoom. There's going to be hundreds of freedom lovers and homesteaders and permaculturalists and regenerative agriculture enthusiasts that are going to be watching, mixing it up in the chat, networking. I'll be there producing it live from this studio, curating the talks. You'll get to relive the experience. So again, that's July 12th and 13th. You also have the opportunity. The farm tour was phenomenal. I'm going to beef up this page with more details on the farm tour. You get the talks, Joel, Daniel, workshops, another slew of incredible speakers that spoke as well. But what's really special, there's a VIP option, right? $97 for the free pass. Sorry, the live pass. $297 for the VIP pass. You get lifetime access to the recordings. The $97 you watched live on the 12th and 13th. The VIP pass, you get access to the recordings. But you also get this really powerful mastermind, a 4-hour mastermind that I led with Joel, asking him some questions and then opening it up to the audience. He just dropped so many nuggets of wisdom. 4 hours straight. This guy had the stamina, and he's an older gentleman, but man, his mind is sharp as a tack. You guys get that with that VIP pass. This is the whole core of the VIP pass. It was so special. There's Jordan Page there in the background. But you also get this special bonus Homestead Freedom Formula collection that has a talk from Marjorie Wildcraft, a panel from Jack Spirko, Nicole Sauce, and Angel Miller on monetizing your homestead, and then something about legacy from Bradley Logan, of course, the Trinity model. So check that out, guys. I'm going to play this video real quick. It's about 5 minutes, and then we are going to go air the Curtis Stone interview. So check this video out. It's really a good view of what took place that day. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments if the audio plays. It should be fun. The Exit and Build Land Summit 5 took place at Polyface Farms, and we had the honor of hanging out with the one, the only Joel Salatin. We covered 3 key themes. We covered regenerating the land, monetizing your homestead, and leaving a lasting legacy. Joel, how was it hosting this bunch of radicals out here?
Oh, it was fantastic. What a wonderful group. Tribute to you, to Rebecca, to the whole team for bringing this caliber of people here. We had people that had not done anything and people that aspired to do everything. The whole gamut, but everybody is locked in, engaged with Exit and Build, and it was very, very powerful.
Yeah, we did a whole lot of talks. We heard from Daniel Salatin. We heard from Joel. We had Nicole Sauce, River, and Amani. But one of the most powerful pieces was having Joel show us around a chunk of the property to see the regenerative practices in action. You want to share a little bit about what viewers might experience?
Well, sure. So this is a hayride, a literal hayride. It's not a fabricated bus or anything. They're literally hay wagons. We all got on. There were 5 of them. They were all full, and we went to pastured pigs first, and then we went to the Pigerator barn where we feed our cows in the winter and make compost with pigs, and talked about carbon economy and being self-reliant in fertilizer. And then we went on up to the broilers, the meat chickens, and talked about growing the meat chickens in the portable field shelters. Then we went over to a pond and talked about how to build a road that takes very little maintenance with water bars and things. And then talked about water and how you collect water, how you can use water, where the best water is, all that sort of thing, and how much water you can generate. I think that's a surprising thing to most people, to realize how even in a fairly arid area, you can really collect some water if you deal with surface runoff. Then we went on up over the hill, stopped at the Millennium Feather Net, which yes is named after the Millennium Falcon, which is a pastured layer operation with 1,000 layers. And then we ended up with the cows down at the pasture. We moved the cows every day to a new spot. So we had several great stops. And my goodness, the questions were just like popcorn, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Joel was just dropping solid knowledge, and we chose the key themes for this event because we knew that's exactly what Polyface Farm embodies. So regenerating the land, monetizing your homestead, and leaving a legacy. I knew that this was going to be an incredibly powerful experience for those that attended. So I wanted to make sure that we could capture it for folks that missed out on it, for you guys to view and soak up all that wisdom. And we just want to leave you with, I think the most powerful piece was leaving a legacy. Can you just share a little bit about the role legacy plays in everything you're doing here?
Yeah, so legacy is all about extending something not only in time, but in people. And so we're big believers here that a truly sustainable outfit needs 2 salaries from 2 generations, because we age and we die. And how do we structure, whether it's a farm business or any other business, that's kind of a small deal, into creating 2 salaries from 2 different generations, whether they're related or unrelated. And so we have this wonderful team. Our average person here on the team is about 30 or 28 years old. So it's a very, very young peopled team, which adds a tremendous amount of vibrancy and encouragement. And we talked too in that section about the greater community around us and how we've helped a slaughterhouse stay in business and started a GMO-free feed mill, and the different things that we've done in the community to build what we call, we have our inner team, and then we have this outer team, the people and businesses that you're working with that make you successful. Mutual interdependence. How do you relate to them and create a legacy where they love you because you appreciate and are grateful for them?
Yeah, love it. Well, we had an absolute blast here. I know the attendees, myself, Rebecca, we learned so much. It was an honor to spend some time here. And like I said, we professionally captured it so you guys could experience the wisdom and the insights, with a special focus on actions that you could take at home to monetize your land, to regenerate the land, and to leave a legacy. So thank you so much for allowing us to experience this, and I hope that you'll join us and check it out. Rock and roll, ladies and gentlemen. So again, exitandbuildlandsummit.com is the website, exitandbuildlandsummit.com. You can get a live pass and join July 12th and 13th on a Zoom stream from approximately 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. $97 live pass, or you get the upgraded VIP pass, $297, lifetime access to the replays. Watch it with your family, revisit the talks that you really like, watch it on your own time. You get a special bonus with 3 talks from past land summits, one about growing your own food from Marjorie Wildcraft, one about monetizing the land. These are the same themes of the event, of course, with Jack Spearco, Nicole Sauce, and Angel Miller, and then one about legacy planning and opting out of the system in the private realm through the Trinity model with the one, the only Bradley Logan. And then, of course, the crown jewel of the VIP pass is the 4-hour super crazy potent, crazy powerful wisdom was shared by Joel Salatin. And myself and the audience drew it out of him through a series of questions that you really, it'll have an impact on you if you watch this session. So that all comes with the $297 VIP pass. I hope you guys will check it out, exitandbuildlandsummit.com. Thank you so much for being here today, folks. This is the Live Free Now show. For those of you just tuning in, where every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central, I bring you news, views, tips, and tools you can use to live a free, prosperous, and healthy life. It's all about taking responsibility for the troubles in our life, for the troubles in our world, transcending the selfish interests, which is fine. Ayn Rand, virtue of selfishness. We all want to take care of ourselves. There's value in self-interest. That's the primary thing. Like in an airplane, when the 2 oxygen masks drop down, you put one on yourself first before you tend to your child, right? We got to have our own cup full. We got to be spilling over in service from abundance, not from lack or scarcity, right? But I want folks to get their shit together, because so many people's life is a mess, mine included, but it's in process. Get your shit together so you can step beyond what's in it for me. How can I be in a better position? How can I create more freedom and protect my wealth and all that stuff? And you can start serving others, being in service to others. just like Jesus Christ washing the disciples of his feet. Wow, what a powerful image. You get your life together, you step into a better place in your life, and then you're like, I need to go help others and serve others. But here's a little trick, guys. Even if you don't have your crap together, you start helping other people, it will just manifest 10 times, tenfold with beauty, abundance, and love in your life. So that's what it's all about, folks. But I'm going to quit rambling on because we got a really powerful interview for you guys to check out. I hope you'll join the podcast, subscribe to the podcast also, livefreenow.show, livefreenow.show. We go live on YouTube. There's also a podcast feed for those of you that are podcasters, livefreenow.show. Without further ado, 45-minute interview with me and Curtis Stone in this studio about a week or two ago. And you're really going to like what we got to share. I hope you take it to heart. Don't get on the pendulum. If you're on the pendulum, get off the pendulum. It's manipulation and control. Take responsibility for your life, become more self-reliant, and help others. That's what it's all about. Without further ado, the one, the only Curtis Stone of Freedom Farmers TV, the off-grid farmer. Let's roll. John Bush here with Live Free Now show, coming at you from Live Free Studios. Got a special guest in the house tonight, all the way from Canada, the 51st state. Of course, we're talking about the one, the only Curtis Stone. How are you?
Good, brother.
Yeah, man.
Happy to be here.
Good, good. So I understand you're doing some podcasts, hanging out in Austin this weekend.
Hanging out in Austin. Yep.
What's new?
Pretty stoked. A lot of shit going on, man. Yeah. I mean, I'm out and about.
He's out and about.
I'm out and about. Yeah.
I got something for you. We'll get right into the thick of it.
Let's do it.
What do you think about all this Iran-Israel stuff? I know you're a big fan of Israel.
Yeah,
course,
huge fan, huge supporter. I mean, I'm not surprised by any of it.
Not surprised by Trump.
Not surprised by Trump. I mean, I was calling it well up to the election, so I saw who he was surrounding himself with. But you know what, man? These days, I find I'm just less interested in the geopolitics of the day. I know the game. I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
I know what we as freedom-loving people need to do to have self-determination. So, I kind of just keep my eye on the prize and keep moving forward. I think getting caught in the minutia sometimes just wastes your energy.
Oh, yeah. And of course, we have limited energy and limited focus. We can point towards things. And I think the folks that are less grounded and have fewer things to do in their day are the ones that tend to get swept up into stuff.
It's how it is. It's like the saying, there's three kinds of people in the world. There's people who make things happen, people who watch things happen, and people who wonder what happens. And I think at best, most people watch what happens, and probably a good number from there wonder what the hell happens. And so I just try to be a guy who makes things happen. And if I'm too caught up in the minutia of the current event, the current thing, I'm not getting things done. So
that's what they want people to be caught up in.
Well, that's it. Yeah, so they want you in a hamster wheel. And these days, with the way AI has, permeated the algorithm of the entire communication system, they can get you in a hamster wheel in any which way.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care if you're on the left or the right. They don't care if you're a neo-Nazi or a social justice warrior. As long as you're doing this, they win.
They push you deep, and they push you more and more polarized.
Absolutely. And I mean, just especially with men today too, it's pretty bleak for a lot of young men out there. And we should be out there crushing and building solutions. But a lot of guys are just sitting there wasting their time talking about shit,
One thing I noticed, because I know you're on Twitter a lot, my Twitter feed, there are times when there's like every fifth video is violence.
I know.
And literally like people being attacked in a subway or like a knifing. And I got to think it's by design, because none of the other social media platforms are like that in the least bit. They'll actually give you an accurate algorithm of what you're clicking on, what you're looking at. If you got a camera on your laptop too, like it'll look at like what are they doing with their eyes.
That's why I got my little thing on there that covers the camera.
The best ones are
that's
my laptop came with one actually now, stock, which is pretty
really
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I used to drive a Tesla, but my wife has one. That one's all, did you cover the camera in that thing too? Because it's all camered up.
Inside there's a camera?
Yeah, well, what year is yours?
I had the exact same Model X as you,
The
2019.
Okay, it doesn't. There's not one in there. There's
Oh,
one in the
okay.
Model 3 though.
Really?
Yeah, and like, of course, I used to be a fan of Elon. I'm not a fan anymore. But part of the reasoning is because when you're doing the auto drive, they want to make sure you're actually paying attention to the road, not snoozing off or
Man,
smoking a bowl or something.
Yeah.
It's probably a liability deal.
Oh shit! I had a loaner Model 3 for the last couple of weeks while my X was getting fixed, and it drove me crazy actually.
Because you did the auto drive?
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Really?
But as soon as you take your and it seemed arbitrary. Like if you put it in autopilot and you just sit there and you look at the road, you don't have to touch the wheel for the whole time. But as soon as you like touch your phone or whatever, it knows. So I don't like that. I don't like that.
They probably dialed it in to avoid lawsuits and stuff.
Oh,
so if somebody's
for
fucking
sure.
around and then they try to blame the autopilot, then they're like, no, dude, you were literally reading the newspaper.
Dude, you know what's funny about, you mentioned X and, all these social medias seem to wax and wane. Like there was sort of a season to Facebook. There was a season to Twitter. There was a season to Instagram.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that X has become the all-encompassing one. And it looks to me like a giant honeypot operation.
In what regard? What are they
Well,
trying
just
to
in
find?
terms of,
obviously they're collecting AI data to
big time, but I
train
mean,
Grok.
a lot of this stuff, you and I were talking about it a bit when we were in Confluence. It's just like a lot of the quote unquote anti-Semitic stuff is just exploding on X. And it makes you wonder, I saw Elon go to the wall and did the whole little song and dance there with the tiny hat and all that.
That's when I lost respect for him.
Me too. That's when I was just like, this is ridiculous.
I still thought he had some Maverick vibes and he's just playing the game so he could pursue his mission.
Yeah.
But then that was also an eye-opener too about how powerful Israel is.
Well, of course, but also, isn't it interesting that this whole new right movement that is, really shining a light on Israel and sort of Jewish power, Elon goes to the wall and does a song and dance, yet X is the place where those conversations are being had the most. It seems a little suspicious to me. It seems to me like if I were just to trust my observation, I've been a truther for 25 years, been watching all this stuff unfold.
We should trust the observation more often.
Absolutely. And I'm sitting here going like something doesn't add up.
So what's
He's out
the
there.
theory?
Well, I think it's a honeypot. I think they're letting all this
to identify people.
Absolutely, and look at the anti-Semitic laws that Trump has put in.
Yes,
right?
I was going to say,
and Trump and Elon are tied at the hip. I haven't paid attention to any of the drama.
Well,
that went on
they
between
broke
the two.
up.
Well, who
Could
knows?
be theater.
Could be theater. I mean, at this point, Trump to me is really no different than his character when he was in the WWF. Throwing chairs at. What's his name? And was
McMahon, Vince
yeah,
McMahon.
Yeah, Vince McMahon. It's just a big theater show. And I think now, because so much of this stuff is coming to light, they need to amplify the theater more than ever. It's a bigger show than ever. So I think it's a giant honeypot operation. And I think people should be careful how they spend their time.
Yeah, so it's like, see, look how much anti-Semitism is. And it's like, guys, you manufactured and created and furthered it. Not that there's actually a thing there. It also gets people toxic and polarized and not asking real questions, but instead like just veering off,
just getting
the
angry.
Deep end.
Well, it's like what you said about, you're right about all these violent videos. I barely scroll X anymore because that's all I see. It's obnoxious. I'm tired of seeing that shit because that's not my life.
No.
My life day to day is really nice. I
Yeah.
live in a beautiful homestead, beautiful view, got my family, I love my life. And, but when I sit there and just scroll through this stuff, I can see how it would get me angry. It doesn't, but I could see how a lot of young men would fall into that. And so, yeah, again, it's like the hamster wheel. And so as soon as I find myself being pulled in that direction, I know it's time to go the other way.
Yep. And the more mindful, conscious, spiritual, the more purpose-driven, the less likely you are to get wrapped in. I know Grant Cardone, who I favor less too. All my heroes are going by the wayside, but he would always say like white space is on the calendar is the devil. The more empty space you have. Now, mind you, we do need time to just meditate, balance, reset. But if you have stuff going, if you got stuff going on in your life, relationships, goals, freaking ducklings to tend to
on the farm, man,
whatever, you got land, you got property, you got kids, you built a family, right? Then you don't have you have less time to bother with it. But oftentimes the guys that are just a mess or directionless, they get sucked in even further and leveraged for some psyop.
Well, I'll tell you, man, I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years, and there was a time where I really followed Grant Cardone as well, like yourself. And I don't know. I find I don't know if I like that statement. White space on the calendar is the devil, in the sense that, okay, it's one thing to be busy and purposeful, but to always have this attitude of more and more and more stacking on.
Yep.
I did that. I chased that for a long time.
I did it too, and it just crashed down recently.
Well, how do you have a family? How do you maintain a balanced lifestyle with that type of attitude? I mean, sure, we had to do it to get to a point, right?
Yeah.
As a lot of men do. But
well, it's a season.
It's a season.
It's like you can't go 10x all the time, or you'll crash and burn. Or like we realized we took on way too many things, and then it was like, the circus act where you're spinning the plates.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep all the plates spinning, and then the plates just fell and crashed.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like hyper, like, no, I'm flexing my no muscle more now than before. It's like, hold on a second. It needs to be on my plan and on my terms and on my path, or it's a no. And yeah, so that's something, the Cardone thing. It's like, it all depends on where you're at. That's why a lot of this advice isn't one size fits all.
No, it's not. And nothing is one size fits all. My motto for a long time, though, has been, if it isn't a fuck yeah, it's a fuck no. If I'm not totally jazzed about something, I don't have time. I've said yes.
That comes with confidence too. And
it comes with confidence and experience. Yeah. Right. And so, it takes a lot of fucking around in things that you were not that excited about to realize halfway in, you're like, oh my goodness, do I really need to be doing this?
Yeah.
Do I really want to be doing this? No. So for me, if I'm not super jazzed about something, I don't have time.
I learned a good framework from this woman, Lee Mealtier, and it's like, I don't do something unless my mind says yes, my heart and my gut.
Yeah.
I got to have alignment on all three of those
absolutely.
things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, let's talk about your homestead. So you used to be the urban farmer, right? And now you're the off-grid with Curtis Stone. So if folks aren't familiar with what you got going up in Canada, up on that mountaintop, why don't you break it down for us? What do you got going?
Well, I mean, I got a pretty badass homestead now. It's been 4 years in the making, and it took about 2.5 years to really get it to where it was close to being, as self-reliant as it could be. Is water?
Do you want water?
Sure, thank you. But I mean, we've got 40 acres, 20 kilowatts of solar. We got a 13 kilowatt diesel generator that I pretty much only run during the winter for about a month and a half, maybe. 3 greenhouses, 1/4 acre of annual vegetable gardens, 1/4 acre food forest with about 400 trees. 75% of those trees are support species. So it's called a syntropic food forest. I got 2 ponds up there. And just been doing the whole thing up there, and it's taken a lot of work and time. Thanks, Riley, to get to where it is. I kind of saved the house for the end, and that's which I don't regret.
Was that a good move?
It was a good move. Yeah, it was a good move.
But was the house at least comfortable?
Well, the house that it came with was comfortable enough. Our kids are big enough now that we moved on from that space. So, it's good. We're at a good place now, and my life changed a lot. My wife passed 4 months ago, so that's was a lot to handle. But overall, we're doing good. My kids are doing good. I've got a lot of support from my family. I inherited her family in a way. So, her brother has been my right-hand man. Her mother has been very supportive. And so, we're in a pretty good place. Just kind of still building it out, still doing a lot on the construction of the house, but Yeah, it's coming together.
Now it's 40 acres, but so I haven't been there. Hope to visit soon. 40 acres, but the pictures, and the overhead, you're only using a couple acres for all the food production in the home site, right?
Oh yeah. Probably, 2 acres. Yeah. So it's kind of nice that way. I mean, any good
You go on
homestead
hikes
is.
and stuff.
Oh yeah, I go. Yeah, we hike up the mountain, and I've got nature.
I bet the kids
bush
love
all
it.
around me. Oh, they love it. Yeah. I mean, I fenced in 8 acres, and I set it up so that the fence.
That's a big ass fence.
You don't see the fence.
Is it barbed wire?
It's high tensile, 10-foot high with electric on top and bottom.
No shit.
Yeah, bears.
That's a serious
bears.
fence.
The real deal up where we are.
Oh.
But you got a good dog.
You don't like bears, huh?
Yeah. No, I like bears. I'm not
don't-
afraid of them.
You don't get
Yeah,
the
yeah.
joke.
I get the joke. Yeah. Those bears. Yeah, right.
All right, but wow, fence, huh?
Yeah. Well, you need it when you're out in. See the difference between where I am
Just
and
keep
where
the deer
you
out
are.
for messing with,
Yeah.
messing with the food too.
Yeah. That's the key.
Wow.
That's really deer and moose would be the biggest deal. But that's the thing with where I live. It's very different than here in Texas, where there's so many people down here.
Mm-hmm.
There's agriculture and there's peri-urban, but there's not a lot of real rural areas in this part of Texas. Western Texas, sure, just barren dust bowl.
Yeah.
But where I am, it's boreal forest, and so it's just wild. And so you need to have proper fencing in order to grow anything up there, otherwise you're going to lose crops constantly. So we get the small critters, we get the raccoons, we get the skunks, but my dog takes care of those.
Nice.
Yeah.
So one of your sticks, one of your specialties is helping people to pick homesteads.
Yeah.
We promoted one of the course things that you did in the past. And so looking back, my wife and I think it would have been better to get a smaller piece of land and a bigger house. We have the house is only like 1,400 square feet. We have a guest house that's like 600 square feet. So it's like 2,000 total, but we don't use the guest house as a living space all the time.
Yeah.
And it's tight. And my 2 kids are there half the time. And our bedrooms are right next door, So like my son had somebody sleep over last night. And that was kind of a pain in the ass because I don't want to like, you got to go to bed and shut up. He's having a sleepover. They don't have sleepovers very often, but here's his door. And then my door is right down the way. I have some earplugs I put in, but I would have preferred to get a smaller piece of land because we have 10 acres, but just the same, there's only about 2 acres of space that I mow regularly. That's where the guest house and the house is, the food forest, the pond, the garden, the compost spots. Yeah. So what would you advise folks? Because everybody, like, they want to go all Grant Cardone and 10X, but in all reality, you don't really need that much land. Now, you do want to be not next to some a-hole or some nanny state person, but more so in the country, that's more rare. But what would you advise folks when it comes to the land, the size of the land? Yeah,
I mean, you can do it all on 5 acres or less. I wrote a book about farming on a 1/4 acre,
That was your thing.
That was my thing. And so you can do a lot with very little, especially in Texas where it's kind of flat. Problem for me is I'm on a mountaintop. And so I've got so much topography that,
it's not all useful as far
No, not at all. But I like that though, because then I just have buffer. I can't see my neighbors, I could be naked gardening day every day up at the Stone Homestead and nobody would be bothered. But yeah, I mean, really most of my homestead exists within 2 acres, and then I got an 8-acre fence. So I've got even a buffer from there. I don't see the fence from the house, which is nice. But yeah, I think, understanding how you live is very important. And yeah, as you have observed, the house and how you live in that is important too. Like I designed my house and built it. So I put all the bedrooms on the eastern side. My kids' bedrooms are downstairs. So I don't have,
there's wings.
There's wings,
How big is the house? It looks
3,000
really big.
square feet.
Nice. That's a good amount of space.
1,500 per level.
You can spread out.
You can spread out. Yeah. It's open concept, high ceiling. And I separated the garage and the greenhouse.
You designed it?
I designed it. Yeah.
You did?
I did.
You never designed a house before.
No.
Designed food systems.
Well, I've designed all kinds of stuff though. I've designed a lot of greenhouses for clients and things like that, and I knew what I wanted. I hired an architect, but I just kind of told him what to do. Cool. But going through that experience, I wouldn't even have bothered with an architect. I would have gone right to a builder.
Oh, right to the builder.
Just go right to the builder.
And you tell them to make the plans?
Yeah. And if you need to get an architect to draft up plans that can be stamped for.
So you just made like a makeshift blueprint of what you wanted, and then they made it.
I just went in.
You doodled it?
Yeah, I just doodled. I said, I like this. I want this.
That's cool.
And then, the architect charged me way too much. But then my builder said, well, why has he got this? If you're going to have 16-inch studs here, you should, like all these kinds of considerations.
It's like the expert class versus the people actually doing it.
It's like Nassim Taleb stuff of, the doer versus the intellectual. And so I would have just gone straight to a builder if I had to do it again. But I designed it all. But it's my house is very simple, but it was all designed based around how we exist in the home. And so I put the kitchen in the center of the upstairs, wood stove in the center, heart of the household, open concept kitchen, island. I love the practicality of my home in the sense that I unload the dishwasher and the dishes go right there, right next to it. Things like that where it's minimal movement, it's ease of flow.
It's like a permaculture house.
It's a permaculture house. It's very easy to clean, So yeah, a lot of considerations there, but I designed it years ago, took years to build it because I built my greenhouses, my ponds, my farming systems, water systems, off-grid power systems. I put all those up before the house because we had a small house to live in for a few years. So we outgrew it, but now it's a guest house. So if you come to visit me, you can stay in the guest house.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Book tickets right now. Let me ask you this. Why did you get motivated to get into all the farming stuff in the first place? It's because of your conspiracy background?
Totally.
So we've been waiting for shit to hit the fan for quite some time now.
Dude, I grew up with my dad from the time I was 16 years old. I'm 45 now. I grew up from the time I was 16 years old. My dad was 5 seconds to midnight every week.
You mean on the doomsday clock?
On the doomsday clock, right? From the going back to the Cuban Missile Crisis to 9/11. My dad woke me up to that. That was my first kind of foray into the rabbit hole, I guess you could say.
It was a deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, and then the banking stuff. He told me about the whole. He told me about G. Edward Griffin, preacher of Jekyll Island. He told me about all this stuff.
That was a good.
So I kind of got to a point where I felt so disempowered by all that information that my resolve was, well, if I can at least grow my own food and take care of myself, then at least I can't be leveraged in the same way that most others can.
Yeah.
So that kind of was the thing that really actually led me to food production. It was a moment though. Like I was living in Montreal at the time. This was back in 2008. And there was a 3-day rainstorm, a freezing rainstorm in that city. And it completely destroys, like a freezing rainstorm is insane. The power lines are covered with an inch of ice. And so things are collapsing. You can't even walk because there's ice everywhere. Cars are crashing. Trucks can't come into the city. So there was this period where, the grocery stores weren't getting filled up. And then I realized, holy shit, I feel really vulnerable right now, especially living in a city when it gets down to -40 in the winter. Talk about being powerless.
Wow.
And so that kind of was the thing that woke me up. And
what, your mid-20s, young 20s?
I was in I was 28 in 2008. So yeah, I just kind of woke me up to it. And, I'd been reading about permaculture and earth ships and stuff like that for probably a few years prior.
Earth ships are cool.
Yeah. I got into Michael Reynolds and I think the first permaculture type book I read was the Humanure Handbook by Joseph Jenkins. And I got obsessed with all that stuff. So yeah, man, I just felt like it was something I could do.
And you were self-taught just from books and
totally.
This was before YouTube was
This is
super
before
huge.
YouTube. Yeah. I mean, it was Google Video back then. I was watching, clips of Bill Mollison and a guy named Robert Hart had the first incarnation that became fairly well known of a forest garden, food forest. And so I was just obsessed with this stuff. And I was just like, how do I do this? I don't have land. I don't have any money. My parents are poor. What am I going to do? So that's how I got into urban farming, because it was just I heard about a guy named Wally Satsowicz doing this in Saskatoon, Canada, and he was doing it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do that. I didn't really want to be that kind of farmer. I always wanted to do permaculture. I always wanted to do broad acre permaculture and homesteading off grid. That's what I wanted to do. But the urban farming thing came at me, and I saw people doing it, and I said, well, this is a good thing I could do to maybe make some money, and then build my skill base, build a network, social capital, looking at the 8 forms of capital, all that kind of stuff. So it, that's kind of, I did all that to get here, to get to be doing off grid, living on a homestead.
Sometimes it takes time. Everybody's so impatient, they never want to get started, not recognizing.
It took 10 years, man.
This is a mission that I'm about to embark on.
It took 10 years of grinding, basically working up to 100 hours a week to get to a point where I now live a fairly comfortable life and kind of can pick and choose the things that I want to be involved in, and
people
spend my time the way I want.
It's a time preference thing. I always get it mixed up with the shorter time preference, but I think it's short. Everybody has a short time preference where they need immediate satisfaction. I'm not going to invest in something unless I can reap the benefits right away. And then everyone's getting all haywired with the YouTube shorts and the reels.
Dude, that's the thing, that I'm old school enough to remember what life was like before the internet.
Sure.
And even before the different incarnations of when YouTube became what it is now. It's when I started doing YouTube 10 years ago, it's a lot different.
There used to be 9/11 Truth documentaries all over YouTube.
There used to be a lot of
good
stuff on YouTube.
Now they're scrubbed.
Yeah, now it's scrubbed. But at the same time, though, I've been a content creator for 10 years. So I've seen this complete shift in how content is created, where TikTok screwed everything up.
Yep.
TikTok and
Snapchat
total disruption.
Possibly by design, part of a psyop.
Oh, for sure. Because, that's the thing is, you look at TikTok, and I never go on it, but I sometimes will see those videos posted on Twitter or something like that. And it's just guys like Ian Carroll, I'm sure he has the best of intentions. At the same time, all these truth bombs coming out, but it's such a machine gun assault of instant gratification that nobody goes down and really, like when I was into it, it was Jordan Maxwell and, Bill Hicks and guys like that, where you had to listen to a 3-hour lecture to really get.
You mean William Cooper?
Yeah, William Cooper. That's right.
Bill Cooper. You did the Alex Jones.
Yeah, I did. That's right. Yeah. You're right. I did. Yeah. Bill Cooper.
Or you got to read an actual book.
You had to read books. I used to order the books and read this stuff. Creature of Jekyll Island was one of the first.
I used to run an underground conspiracy bookstore, so we had all the greats, all like Gary Allen, None Dare Call It Conspiracy, Rise of what was it? Wall Street and the Rise of Hitler, Wall Street and the Rise of Communism and shit. Yep. And now it's all.
Now it's just this, right? Yeah. It's just swiping. And everybody thinks they're getting all the information, but no, you're just so inundated with a constant barrage of information that it actually just disempowers you even more.
Now you're the psyop now.
Yeah, now you're the psyop. Now you're in the hamster wheel. And so the way I kind of look at it in a macro way is the controlling elite, they can't hold back the information anymore. It's like a dam breaking. And so instead of them trying to patch it all up, they're just letting it go.
Yeah.
Because and that's why they
tried to like kookify and say conspiracy's weird, but they couldn't. So now they co-opted it. Like that's what they do.
They're cunning, man. Read Tragedy and Hope, man.
They're good.
They lay it all out exactly how they do this stuff. It's the same thing every time.
Now that's a book young folks aren't going to be able to read these
days. You can get the short version. You get the Joe Plummer version on audio. That's a faster way to get that book. But
you didn't read the whole book.
No.
Okay.
No.
But you have it as a reference, and you can check in and go cite this and that. It's all in there.
It's all in there. And but yeah, no, we're in an era now where they're just going to inundate us with all this stuff, and because it's just like the Roman gladiatorial arena. That's all it is. Yeah. It's sports ball, and just politics has become sports ball. Watching what's going on with Trump is literally like watching the World Wrestling Federation.
Trump is super entertaining.
He is entertaining.
Those debates the first time around were television gold.
It was epic.
That was awesome.
I really enjoyed it in 2016. It was so nice to hear somebody just come out and destroy woke.
Mm-hmm.
The
media,
and but I think
part of the psyop.
It's part of the psyop. I think really, if I were to guess, and I wouldn't pretend to have an inside view of what's really going on there, but if I had to guess, I think Trump probably had the best of intentions at that point when he ran in 2016 and won, but he couldn't get anything done. And so I think the sort of New World Order Anglo-American establishment basically came to him and said, look, you know, if you want to take care of your family and your own, you got to do this and this and this. And so they did a deal with him. And then they hired a guy who was the best salesman in world history, in my opinion, to bring us the new version of the New World Order, which is going to be this North American Union, right? Canada is going to join the United States.
The Palantir method.
And then bringing all these guys in too. I mean, that's a whole other can of worms. But
yeah,
I think,
and they sold it to the rebellion. They sold it to the anti-government, patriot, constitutionalist. Right?
Man, I read Peter Thiel's. I read Peter Thiel's book 0 to 1 years ago. I used to like him as an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
but it's amazing how part of the establishment he's become. Ooh. And what Palantir.
He's a Bilderberg steering committee.
Absolutely, member. Yeah, it's crazy.
Woo! I'm gonna work in. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm gonna work in. Hey, I just signed up with Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. They have something called the Wolf Pack, and it's a monthly subscription. I'm working a little sponsorship plug here. It's a monthly subscription. You go to livefree.academy/wolfpack, livefree.academy/wolfpack. I signed up for the $125 a month package, and I just got it in the mail. So we got this silver ounce, 2 silver ounces, 2 $half junk silver, 90% silver, and 2 dimes. Right. And then I also got this little half gold back. This is probably worth like $3 or something. So the cool thing about Wise Wolf and getting these packs is that they send you tradable silver and gold. Right. So you can use gold as an investment, as a way to protect and grow wealth. You can also use it as a way to trade outside the system because the CBDCs are coming. Everything's getting digital, and it's critical, especially folks that are weird with crypto. Oh, it's part of the beast system, or I'm old school and technology just really overwhelms me. Well, you can show up to farmers markets. You can show up to local businesses, or if you're an entrepreneur, you can accept this kind of stuff on your own. And again, I'm getting $125 worth. This is what it looks like. They have very low markups, very competitive. They could actually charge more of a premium just to make life easy, because they make life easy with the subscription. Anyway, I just signed up. They sponsored the X and Build Land Summit. Big fan. You should check them out at livefree.academy/wolfpack. All right. Little plug there.
Nice little plug there. You went right into it.
Yeah, I was like, I should plug in the middle here. Okay, so but to get back to the topic at hand, you know, somebody really close to me, a family member, they are all knee deep in the conspiracy, but they're of like the Alex Jones still. That's how I got started, 2002.
Right. Yeah.
And that's when he was against the police state and
martial
he
was hardcore.
He wasn't like not even right wing. He's just a Trump cheerleader now. It's kind of
it's painful to watch.
Sucks.
It's so painful.
And so I was kind of coaching them up because all of their talking points are what Jones says in large part. You know, I'm not saying they're just like repeating everything, parroting. They think for themselves too, right? But it's like it's all it's all reactionary, which makes you easy to control.
Absolutely,
and then just the same on the hamster wheel. It's all angry, them, the other. It's China especially. And what I was trying to tell them is like, you think that conspiracy theorists feel good about themselves because they have it figured out compared to the quote unquote normies. But in all reality, they're part of the psyop. And if you look at it like a pendulum between one extreme and the other, or between left and the right, they grab you and they put you in the pendulum and send all this negative energy against the other, the reactionary thing. And then they're doing it on the other side. Sometimes it swings. The real trick is to just get off the pendulum and observe the pendulum.
Absolutely.
Be like, whoa, there's a freaking pendulum and people are really going along for a ride. I'm going to be aware of that. I'm going to make sure I don't get sucked into it. I'm going to tell people about it, but I'm going to go back and work the land and work on the relationship or whatever I need to do in my life. But everybody gets sucked into the vortex. And like you said, it's by design. They couldn't contain the truth getting out. So they're like, what are we going to do? Same thing with Bitcoin. Bitcoin came out, digital, decentralized cryptocurrency. And early on, I was like, this is going to end the Fed. This is it. We got it. It's going to end the dollar. The wars are going to stop. They're not going to inflate the currency. And they're like, holy shit, Bitcoin, this is pretty serious. I don't know that we can control it, but we could psyop it. And in fact, it's so popular, maybe we need to have our own digital currency. That's why I think the CBDC thing got advanced, because they're like, holy shit, we got to stay on top of this game.
Yeah.
They're cunning. You can't underestimate them.
Well, they got limitless resources, right? But isn't it interesting though? Regarding the pendulum, we watched even during Trump's first administration, we watched the world get really woke. We saw the left wing social justice warrior stuff hit a pinnacle, and guys like you and me were sitting there watching the madness. And then October 7th happened, and now the pendulum swings back to the right, and now we're watching all the right wingers get woke in the sense that they're not piecing it together because they're too caught up in the minutia of the talking points and the rhetoric, instead of going, how can you guys not see who Trump is surrounding himself with? It's the same old cronies. It's drained the swamp. It's just an inversion. It's actually filling the swamp. It's rebranding the swamp. And that's what Trump was.
Swamp.
Yeah, it was like Trump was a perfect player for the establishment.
Gold.
Because he is the perfect salesman to reshape the rhetoric, rebrand. It's just a remarketing, right? It's just a repackaging of the same old thing.
They freaking nailed it.
And all these right wingers are going along with it. Now it's rah Israel again.
Wow.
And now the U.S. is legitimately might bomb Iran.
Wow.
A totally peaceful country
like
that has no history of bombing other countries.
No nukes.
Where Israel has been bombing other countries forever.
Yeah. And they're like, they bombed up. I mean, prayers for family members that died or whatever and all of this. But it's like, they bombed a hospital. Oh, it's like, look at Gaza, man. Like, give me a freaking break.
When I lived in Montreal, I knew a lot of Palestinians. But I actually got to say, I give credit where credit's due. All the people that I used to be a lefty, but this is in the 90s and the early 2000s when leftism wasn't politically correct. There was no woke stuff.
It was anti-war.
It was anti-establishment. It was always anti-establishment.
Anti-police.
But all the things that I learned about Israel back then, I learned from Montreal Jews. The Montreal Jews that I knew that were lefties were all anti-establishment. They all opposed Israel, and they're all pro-Palestine.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time with people that grew up in Palestine, and I can tell you, the average Palestinian, their lifestyle versus the average Israeli Jew lifestyle, diametrically different. You grow up in Palestine, you pretty much grow up in rubble. Like it's a tough go. I mean, I have dozens of friends that have personal stories of 18-year-old IDF soldiers kicking the doors down in the middle of the night, knocking out grandma's
for
teeth.
decades.
Oh, brutal stories. And so
I like that you call it Palestine. I'm not supposed to do that.
No.
Well, Palestine's not a state,
but
it was
never
a place.
Palestine.
Blah 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 blah.
But it
blah.
was.
I know
before the Rothschilds created the Balfour Declaration, right?
Yep.
That's a lot of the truthers who are all pro-Trump and all of a sudden now pro-Israel don't really understand is the Rothschilds set up Israel.
Yep.
Right. I mean,
not even a theory at all.
No,
it's plain
as
day.
It's plain as day. It's on the record. The document's readable. You can find it anywhere online. The Rothschilds created that state. And it isn't that hard to find out what it was like before they did that. In Palestine, Muslims, Christians, and Jews all lived together in peace. For the most part, And
then they came carving up.
And then they came and carved it up. And now the Middle East was radicalized. Before the U.S. installed the Shah in Iran, pretty metropolitan,
very liberal,
nice place to go.
Bathing suits.
Yeah. Didn't have all the radical, Islam like it is now. And so,
man, they got to put those plans. That's why the secret societies are so powerful and why we need, I used to call it the Illuminati of liberty, because in order to see these programs through, like in 1953, throwing out the Shah, right, installing the Shah, throwing out Mohammed Mossadegh, it was 1953,
yes, right,
a CIA coup.
Yeah.
Right. And did they know that later on they're going to leverage, maybe against the Soviet Union that was burgeoning? We're going to leverage this fundamentalism, and we're going to go ahead and we know that we got to plant it now, though, here and there, and work with Tim Osman, Osama bin Laden, and it's like everybody, to go back to the attention thing. It's even worse now, but for the longest time, the people are focused on how am I going to make my next rent? How am I going to get this bill paid?
Wheel, right?
And they don't have time to even think about what am I going to do for my 3-year plan, let alone what am I going to set up my kids for when they're adults based on my hard work today? Meanwhile, the enemies of freedom, they're looking at it intergenerationally, and they're planting seeds now that aren't going to fruit for literally 20, 50, 100 years.
But they can play that game. And isn't it interesting? Like we've even seen it in our lifetime, is every time that we start to question the money changers, then there's a big diversion. Like remember Occupy Wall Street?
Yeah.
They were marching on the Federal Reserve Bank. Remember that? At the very beginning, they were literally marching on the Federal Reserve Bank. Yes, they were.
That.
And then it became the 1%.
Sure.
It became it's all just marketing rebranding. It's straight up.
Tea Party got psyoped also.
They also this happens every time that people start to question the money changers. There's a new type of thing to rebrand and get people diverted. So it was going against the Federal Reserve. Then they rebranded it to the "We are the 99%." So now they made it class warfare, but the wrong kind of class, right? Because it's not the 1%. It's like the 0.00001%.
Oh yeah,
right. We're talking about a very small group of people.
The 1% are pretty. We're 1%.
We're 1%
of the world, you know.
Yeah, if you're living in America, you're 1%. But yeah, it's funny how they do it, and it's always the same thing. They get you diverted into an endless loop where you just sit there and hate on other people for having more than you, or the grass is greener on the other side, and they want you stuck in there. And most people are, unfortunately.
All right. I like the rabbit hole. This ended up being a good conspiracy talk.
Yeah.
Well, let's finish it on some more solutions.
Yeah.
So besides food production, which is an obvious one for you, if there's somebody watching and they're one of the folks that's quote unquote awake, but they're still trying to find their footing to take action. Maybe they live in a neighborhood, maybe they live in an apartment, they're not in the country, they're feeling a little insecure and vulnerable with all the chaos and the technocracy being implemented. Besides food production, what is one thing that they could do that's simple enough to get started, like today or tomorrow?
Well, I like to think about the 4 nexuses. So food, water, energy,
got a
shelter.
framework.
I got a framework. And so food's one piece.
Okay.
Water, energy, shelter are the other 3. Think about it in terms of a scale of dependency to sovereignty. And go, okay, with any of those 4 things, and there's other things in there too. You could think about, the education of your kids. You could think about community. You could think about, your relationships, entrepreneurship, you name it. There's all kinds of things in there, but these 4 are probably most important.
They're pretty critical
as far as,
hard to build anything else without those.
Yeah, exactly. So just think about in terms of where you are now and where you'd like to be. So I guess for probably most people listening to this show, some type of sovereignty is the goal, to be self-reliant in some ways, be set up so that you cannot be leveraged. So just think about
what do you mean by that?
They can't put pressure on you. So COVID, the COVID show, for one example, people who didn't have any type of any scale of sovereignty over their basic needs to live, were stuck in the lineups at the grocery store.
They got their
getting forced to be wearing masks and dealing with BS. You go to Costco and it was madness. So think about it like this. You can be dependent. We all start dependent, right? Whether you're a child in the womb being born into the world, or you're just some apartment dwelling urbanite in terms of energy. You come home at the end of the day, you turn the lights on, you hope that they turn on. You're dependent. You go to the grocery store, you hope that there's food there. You turn on the taps, you hope that the water turns on. You hope that when you come home, the heat is on, right? So you started as a state of dependency. You can move to less dependency fairly quickly. So in terms of food, think about it like maybe I got a bug out bag. Maybe I got 7 days of food stored in case I can't get food for 7 days. What can I do? That's a step, right? In terms of water, have some stored water in your home. Have a small generator, have an emergency source of heat. These are just one step. And then you can go, okay, from less dependency, you can move to security, where you could have maybe a small garden. Maybe it's just a garden on the balcony. Then you can go from security to resilience, where you've got a secondary source of water. Maybe you've got a bigger garden. Maybe you've got a grid-tied power system. And then you get to sovereignty, where you've got multiple types of garden, multiple types of food production, multiple sources of water, multiple sources of power, multiple ways to heat your home, right? All these types of things. And my homestead, I've tried to just like lay out the most hardcore example, because I do have, multiple options for all of these things.
I saw your stove.
Right?
You got
the
wood
wood
fire,
stove.
gas,
I can basically,
and
my homestead, I can basically go down to redundancy, where I can live through a winter with one stove in my entire house. I can cook on it, heat my water, and it heats the home.
Nice.
So thinking about things in that, don't just look at people who have it all and say, well, I'll never get there. Just go, well, what do you got to do now to get one step in that right direction? So think about it in that way. So it's more of just applying a framework than it is one particular thing to do this. Look at your context, look at what's achievable, and look at what's practical, and ultimately look at what you like doing. Because if you don't like doing this stuff, you're not going to last.
Cool. Good stuff. I like it there, Mr. Curtis. Well, thanks for stopping by and chit-chatting.
Yeah, brother.
All right. Let folks know where they can follow your work and your big YouTube channel, which is quite the asset.
Yeah.
And Freedom Farmers.
Yeah, freedomfarmers.com is, if you want to get on the land, we got a program called the Homestead Accelerator, where we review homestead real estate around the United States, mostly the US, some in Canada. And we're helping people get on the land real quick by picking and identifying the right types of properties with the right types of assets on them. You can go to freedomfarmers.com to check that out. I'm still on YouTube. Haven't posted much in the last number of years, but I'm still there. It's Off Grid with Curtis Stone. I'm on X at Off Grid Stone. I'm on Twitter. Oh no, that is Twitter. X at Off Grid Stone. I'm on Instagram at Off Grid Curtis Stone. And those are the places you can find me.
Sweet. All right. Cool. Good stuff.
Right on, brother.
All right. Stay free, friends. Peace. Until next time. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. I can hear myself on the computer in the other room. It's going to throw me off. Hey, guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Live Free Now show. Again, we go live every week, every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Central. Guess who's coming on next week? The one, the only Joel Salatin. So Wednesday, July 9th, we will be joined by Joel Salatin of Polyface Farms. We're going to talk about the experience we had at the Exit and Build Land Summit. I'm going to pick his brain. We're going to get real in-depth on this one. It's going to be great because leading up to the Land Summit at Polyface, Land Summit 5, and then post-Land Summit, I tell you what, I was just so motivated and inspired by this guy. At the farm store at Polyface, I bought several of his books, much to Rebecca's dismay. She doesn't like it how I have books scattered all over the place. And we had to fly back with the books. But I've dove into those books and started applying some of his principles at Radical Roots Ranch. And I just feel like I have a much firmer understanding of his approach to agriculture and his overall philosophy. Because he's such a total badass. Not only is he a rebel freedom fighter, which makes him special, but he's an awesome farmer, obviously. But on top of that, he's an entrepreneur and a visionary and an activist. He's pushing the ball down the field when it comes to homesteading, when it comes to a revival in small farms and recognizing the threat of the United States Department of Agriculture and the FDA and all the banking system and how they get these farmers in debt to where the children don't want to take over the farm. So we're going to talk about the same themes that we talked about during the Land Summit: regenerating the land, monetizing your homestead, and leaving a legacy of liberty. Again, guys, you can catch the encore replay. It's coming up July 12th. That's July 12th and the 13th over at exitandbuildlandsummit.com. Register now to get your tickets, and you'll be able to check this out July 12th and the 13th live on Zoom. The entire event, we captured it professionally. As you can see, the high quality footage here and the post-production of this little intro film. That's what the experience is going to be like. You guys are going to love it. You can watch live. It's only $97 to watch live on the 12th and 13th, or pick yourself up a VIP pass for $297 where you can get lifetime access to the replays. You can get the mastermind, the 4-hour mastermind of Joel going deep. And then, of course, the Homestead Freedom Formula Collection. Either way you decide to go, we hope that you'll join us for that event. If anybody wants to follow what we're doing here at Live Free Academy and the Live Free Now show, subscribe to our daily email newsletter, livefree.academy/newsletter, livefree.academy/newsletter. Make sure you support our sponsors for making this program possible. livefree.academy/wolfpack, livefree.academy/wolfpack. Where you can get a monthly subscription, get yourself some easily tradable counter economic gold and silver. I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. Until next week, stay free out there, my friends. Peace.